She never expected anyone to notice. In a small, quiet town, she moved through life like a shadow, soft, unnoticed, but always giving. Every day, she offered what she could. A smile to a stranger, a warm meal to someone in need, a kind word when no one else had the courage to speak. She gave without expectation, without thought of reward, simply because it felt right. Her friends often wondered why she did it. "Why do you bother?" they asked. "People don't even appreciate it." She would smile gently and say, "I don't give to be thanked. I give because it's who I am." It was simple, but it carried a depth that few could truly understand. She had no wealth, no influence, no grand title. Her power was quiet, invisible to most. The ability to make someone else's day a little lighter. It could be as small as leaving a note on a neighbor's door, or as large as helping a struggling mother find groceries. No act was too small, no gesture too humble. People often passed by her without noticing, yet she noticed everyone. She saw the boy who walked home alone each day, the elderly man who struggled with his shopping bags, the woman who waited silently at the bus stop, rain soaking through her coat, and quietly, she stepped in. Without recognition, without applause, she offered her help. But life had a way of testing even the kindest hearts. One winter evening, as the cold crept through the town and people hurried home, she found herself standing at the edge of the riverbank. A small child had slipped, and in an instant, she lunged, catching the boy just before he fell into the icy water. Her arms burned from the strain, her breath ragged, but the boy was safe. The mother arrived moments later. Tears were streaming down her face, with gratitude beyond words in her eyes. She tried to protest. "It's nothing, really." But the woman shook her head. "You saved my son. You gave everything without thinking of yourself. You are a gift to this world in death moment." The quiet truth she had always lived was seen, and the world responded. Word of her actions began to spread, quietly at first. Neighbors spoke of her generosity. Friends recounted her small miracles. Strangers whispered about the woman who gave without asking for anything in return. She never sought fame or recognition. Yet people began to notice. They began to reflect on their own lives, inspired by the purity of her actions. One day, a local business owner approached her. "I've seen what you do for everyone," he said softly, "and I want to help. Tell me what you need." She laughed gently, shaking her head. "I don't need anything. I have everything I need." But he insisted, and soon she had resources she had never imagined. A community willing to help her help others. Tools and means to expand her quiet acts of kindness. Life, in a strange and beautiful way, seemed to circle back to her. Every seed she had planted, every gesture she had made in silence, returned to her in ways she could never have predicted. A small act of care for a stranger led to a network of love she hadn't known existed. Her life became proof that generosity never goes unnoticed, even if it is unseen in the moment. It wasn't always grand gestures that defined her story. Sometimes it was the quietest moments, holding the hand of someone grieving, listening without judgment, offering a cup of tea to someone overwhelmed by the day. And yet, those small moments built ripples, reaching farther than she could ever measure. The world responded to her selflessness, not because she demanded it, but because she inspired it. There were challenges along the way. Some took advantage of her kindness, assuming she would always give, without question. There were moments of doubt, nights when she wondered if her efforts mattered at all. But every time she faced that shadow of despair, she reminded herself why she gave. Not for reward, but because giving was the essence of her being. One evening, a young woman approached her on the street. Tears glistened in her eyes as she spoke. "Because of you, I found the courage to help my own brother. You don't even know me, yet your kindness changed my life." And in that moment, she realized that even when no one sees, every act of giving matters. Every gesture becomes a thread in the larger tapestry of human connection. Life has a way of teaching us the quietest lessons. She had given without expectation, And yet, the universe had responded in ways she could never have planned. Her life became richer, not in possessions, but in love, gratitude, and the knowledge that she had made a difference. Every smile, every act of care, returned to her in waves she had not anticipated. The town began to change, little by little. Neighbors helped neighbors. Children shared what little they had. Strangers looked for opportunities to lift someone up. It was subtle, but it was real. Her selfless acts inspired a movement of kindness, sparked not by grand proclamations, but by quiet, unwavering generosity. Sometimes, giving requires courage. It is easy to ignore the needs around us, to focus only on our own survival. But she chose to step forward, even when it was inconvenient, even when it was unnoticed. And in doing so, she reminded the world of something essential. Generosity has power beyond measure. Not every act was met with gratitude immediately. Some were ignored, others misunderstood, and yet she never wavered. She gave freely, with no ledger in mind, no expectation of repayment or recognition. That is the true strength of giving without expectation. It is unconditional, pure, and transformative. Life responded in ways she never imagined. Opportunities, friendships, and connections flowed to her naturally, not as payment, but as a reflection of the love she had shared. People began to mirror her generosity, spreading it further than she ever could alone. Her small acts became seeds, blossoming into a forest of kindness. She realized, finally, that giving itself was the reward. Every act of care, every moment of empathy, became its own miracle. And yet, life had its own way of answering back, showing her that the universe notices even the quietest gestures. Her story became a testament. When you give freely, life often returns, more than you could ever anticipate. And so, she continued, not for fame, not for fortune, but because it was who she was. The world responded, in whispers, in smiles, in the unexpected returns of her generosity. Her life became proof that kindness is never wasted, that selfless giving creates ripples that reach farther than the eye can see. She gave without expecting anything, and life responded in ways that were more beautiful, more profound, and more enduring than she could have imagined.